Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and the Unstoppable Wasp, issue number 7. This is volume 2. Why am I reminding that it's volume 2? Because I'm going to bring up volume 1 in a little while. This fight did not actually happen, although the birthday cake versus the Winter Soldier could actually be pretty fun. There was something I didn't like about the comic book, and it does have something to do with the cover. Anyway, let's get into who made this book, and then we'll talk about this comic book. Writer Jeremy Whitley, art by Alti Firmancia, color artist Espen Gruden-Jern. I'm going to butcher names, apparently, and I'm sorry. Letters, VC's Joe Caramagna. Cover, Stacey Lee and Max Lim on the variant cover. Carlos Loud did the graphic design. Okay, the rest of those weren't so hard. And of course, the Wasp was created by Stan Lee, Ernie Hart, and Jack frickin' Kirby. So this is basically Nadia's birthday party. She hasn't had one forever, so she's going to have one now. Please go and see the previous issue to understand why. She gets to talk to a whole bunch of people. We get a really cool genealogy almost. They might as well just put up a family tree, except this was actually kind of more fun. I still want to see a family tree because I didn't realize how many people she's actually related to technically. Like I didn't realize just how close the Marvel Universe was, and I guess that the Pyms are really the whole reason for it. That's kind of freaking cool, man. Go figure, I'm wearing my Ant-Man shirt. But I mean, what do you call that? I don't know. Personally, I just think that's awesome. I enjoyed this book. I'm mentioning that it's volume 2 because while this is issue 7, issue 9 from volume 1, which is where everything ended before they realized, hey, this is actually a pretty big seller because the trade paperbacks sell really well. So they rebooted it and, well, didn't have to reboot it, but whatever. They went back to an issue 1 and they said, here, let's go again. It's funny how this book, this issue, reminds me so much of issue number 9 of the first volume because, yeah, this is basically just a girls' night out, mostly for Nadia. She just gets to hang out with a bunch of people, get a couple of really quick, cool stories. There was even a fight at one point, which, whatever. It was fun. Like, it's just something that, yeah, Mockingbird would probably do. I thought that was really, really good in character. I liked that a lot. Of course, I love Mockingbird as a character. There was the one part that I didn't like, and it was the Bucky Barnes scene. I loved the entirety of the scene. I didn't like the idea that he just got snuffed and beaten up by a scientist girl who happens to know a little bit of Krav Maga and Hapkido. I know it's a little bit more than that, but like, here's the brain trust, and here's the most feared assassin in the history of, the recent memory since World War II, right? So, no, I didn't like that scene at all. Granted, it's not that kind of book, but I feel that lately with Bucky, Winter Soldier, whatever you want to call him, he's that guy who he's treated like Sabretooth. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, Wolverine's greatest nemesis, his best fights are against Sabretooth because they're so evenly matched. The problem is that if Sabretooth ever has to fight anybody else, he just gets soundly trounced. And it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, and it really demeans the character. It demeans the character of Wolverine. It's painful, and I think the editors need to do a better job with that. Likewise, I feel like nowadays, it's like Captain America, one of the greatest, hand-to-hand fighters in the Marvel Universe. Nobody wants to get into it with Captain America because everybody knows they're not getting out of it unscathed. Here comes Winter Soldier, and he can practically evenly match himself with Captain America because his ruthlessness, it topples out. Problem is everybody else just punks out Winter Soldier, and it's embarrassing, and it's demeaning for the character. It's demeaning for Captain America. Bit of a rant there, but I think you get my gist. Anyway, that aside, it was a really touching moment that I'm a little disappointed at the wasted opportunity here, the missed opportunity. Nadia has some really good ups and downs, and wouldn't it have been a great moment for, in a comic book where it's like she's got her downs, she's dealing with her depression or bipolar disorder. If she was taken off the meds for whatever reason, and then, oh no, I'm meeting the Winter Soldier for the first time. Oh no, I know that star. You're the earliest memory that I have. What did you do to my mother? that would have probably been the coolest freaking storyline in recent memory. And here it's just relegated to, like, a page of, it's okay, it wasn't your fault, I love you. It's like the exact opposite that Tony Stark had in Captain America Civil War. Like, hey, I know that you lost your memory and everything. I'm going to call you the Manchurian Candidate to remind you that I know this and make fun of it. What did I say, you killed my mommy? Like, dude. Polar opposites, man. Aside from that, though, this was a really good book. I saw on Twitter that there's a bunch of other people who really love this book. They made it their number one book. Comic Uno, she put it as her number one book this week. I'd love to know more about people's opinions on this. I think that the majority of people that I saw who loved this book were women. It's interesting. It's interesting. This is definitely a girl's book. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure that anything that I'm missing about the book that I would love, I'm missing because I'm a dude. And I just got different life experiences, whatever, socially, whatever. It's funny because it actually reminds me of something. I remember this one time that the book Twilight was out, and I was working at a bookstore, and there was this woman who came in, and she was all like, hey, when is the next Twilight book coming out? I was like, oh, yeah, Breaking Dawn, the last one, whatever that was. Yeah, it's scheduled to come out on such and such and such. We're going to have an open house for that. Come on in, blah, 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 whatever. You could pre-order your book now if you want. And she's like, do you read the books by chance? Like, yeah, I read the first book. I breezed through it pretty quickly. There was a lot of writing errors, syntax errors, whatever. She's not very good at the writing aspect of writing, but she's got a great imagination, Stephanie Meyer. And I was like, if I had one criticism about the book, it would be that there's no Van Helsing factor. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, Van Helsing is the guy who was able to kill Dracula. Even though Dracula is this super overlord of power, like this hub of dark evil power, basically, he wasn't so strong that Van Helsing, with his brains, couldn't beat this guy. The vampires in this book are way too strong. And then, when you see later on in the other books, like, they're just way too strong. There's no way. Like, your greatest weakness is the sun. Not because, it'll kill you, but because you'll sparkle. It's like, dude, it completely takes away the human element. Humans have no chance against these beings. Like, a city of humans don't have a chance against a freaking vampire because it'll super speed and just kill you. And she's like, you're completely missing the point of the book. Like, what do you mean? She says, it's about the love. And she just kind of shook her head and walked away like she was disappointed with me. I don't think there's any reason to be disappointed. But yeah, like, it shows the differences, like one of the differences that your average guy would have with an average girl. I know that I obviously missed something. And without her saying that, she could have stayed and we could have talked about it, but like, wow, you're right. I completely overlooked that because that's not the kind of movie or book that I'm used to, reading. It would have been an interesting conversation. Unfortunately, never got to have that conversation. I was looking at it from a completely different aspect. One of those reasons why my opinion doesn't count as much. Because the book isn't necessarily made for me, for my genre, for me being a guy. So I'm sure that there were some things that I missed. And now that I've given my review, I might go and check out a couple other people's reviews just to see what they particularly liked about the book. Yeah. Anyway, I did still like the book. I wasn't in love with the book, but there were a lot of really cool scenes. Anyway, guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, class dismissed.